What is up, everyone? Welcome to the first ever Parallel Paths Podcast Book Club. My name is Artemis, and this video we are discussing the continuation of the 863 series in book format. We are reading 2 chapters a week of the Redacted, written by Shenelle Trujillo and Matthias. So grab your books. Please note, if you haven't read the books, you should. This is edited to only be easy to follow if you have read the books. You won't get any easy spoilers with us. This video will cover chapters 1 and 2. So if you haven't read these chapters, hit pause, catch up, and come back. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you'll be notified when we post our next installment of our book club. If you would like to join the recording live, join our Discord link in the description below. Other links is a link to our website where you can stay connected easier. And the Amazon link where you can purchase the Redacted to follow along. So grab your books, grab a drink, and join the discussion in the comments below. So whether this is your first time reading through or your 100th, thank you for joining our book club. Let's jump into this. Let's get into this book. Okay, so we started the Redacted this week. So if you did not get the memo, go ahead and play. If you're watching this on the replay crew, hello. We are reading chapters 1 through 2 of the Redacted and going through chapter 1, which is called Leather-Bound Anxiety. And it starts off at Blue Base in the front lobby at 8:25 a.m. directly when season 4 that was on the YouTube channel leaves. So if you want to refresh your memory, go ahead and hit pause and then go back and watch the last episode where the team, along with Scott, confronted Autumn and got the phone call from Deb. And we kind of got a goodbye from Deb. Now, whether that was going to be the last transmission from Deb is still unclear. So that is where we are picked up on this. We don't even know where Scott went. He did a Benji move and he just walked away from this all. Just walked down the road and don't know where he went and don't know where he's going. Bro saw how crazy Autumn was and dipped. To be fair, I think he always knew that Autumn was crazy, right? He kind of wasn't surprised by anything. He was just all like, all right, she's in love with a mass murderer. How does everyone feel about how this book is written? This book is written, and when I first read it, this is my second time reading it, but when I first read it, the point of view of Matthias was very interesting. So how do you guys feel about the point of view of this book? Christy liked it. Almost like nothing had changed. I think it's really interesting. It's almost like Matthias is narrating a story to us. It's neat, says Bethany. Interesting. And I found a little jarring is that we get to hear the thoughts of Matthias, which, the YouTube series, we don't. Very jarring to be inside of Matthias's 863 Matthias's head. And I do agree, Saraksa, it does capture Matthias well. There were a couple of instances in the book when they're eating around the table. That was until Sam grabbed catchphrase from under the table, that delighted gleam in her eye. I totally can picture, like, the Spellbound crew playing catchphrase when things get too overbearing on the 863 side. I like that. It feels, we feel more included, I guess. They can explain more detail, feel, yeah, and how it is to be with that group while 863 is going on. Glitch says, there's a lot that happens that I know for a fact they wouldn't really be able to pull it off in a video. And yeah, I can picture everything so well. It's perfectly described. Yes, it really is. And we get more of a friendship dynamic from R4 because Bailey is officially our stand-in. So there is 4 members of our group. And we'll find out in chapter 2 that she's a very important part. Bethany says the descriptions are really great, but not so thick that it pulls away from the emotion of the story. True. And another thing is that in these first chapters, it wasn't until towards the end of chapter 2 that I realized no one mentioned picking up a camera. No one mentioned like, oh, I have to grab a camera so we can have subject 4 with us. It was almost like, we don't need to grab a camera. Bailey's here and they're reading this, and I'm wondering if they're going to mention this later. Going through chapter 1, they're mostly still concerned about Autumn, and Autumn was a huge person, was able to infiltrate their team, so they're still kind of like reeling from that this person was able to get behind and, get behind their defenses. Do you feel like they're safe from her? As of right now, if you read further, don't say anything. But as of right now, do you feel like they are safe in chapters 1 and 2 from Autumn and her influence? No, no, no. If Ben escaped jail, then Autumn sure as hell can. And that's the thing. Glitch, they didn't really specify, at least not to my recollection. I know that Bethany and Saraxa and many of you can disagree with me if I'm incorrect on this, but they didn't really go into depth of how he just got out. Did they just give him the keys? Did he just walk out? What, did he escape? They didn't really go too much into that. On page 8, Matthias is looking over the letter that Deb wrote to him at the end of season 4, where it said, I'm sorry you lost 7 months of your life to his influence. And we definitely get a sense of what Matthias feels when he sees those words, his influence. It says, I felt the same pit in my stomach and lump in my throat return as I read her words carefully. I'm sorry about the last 7 months of your life. You lost 7 months of your life to his influence. Yes, our actors are very good at portraying emotions that are supposed to be included, but it's kind of nice to know that it wasn't just like a joke to Matthias, even though he tried to play that off at the beginning of season 4. He tried to play that off, and then he just dove into this, like, they were trying to figure out, solve Deb's murder. So he jumped into that, and then you had Gary Reynolds threatening them, and it kind of buried those emotions. And we now know he still hasn't dealt with those emotions yet. Glitch says, I can't really like feel the emotions in the book form, but I can feel like you can picture the emotions better, if that makes sense. Yes. Sarah says, Autumn is Nelson's right-hand person after Deb betrayed him. I think she is capable of more evil and underhanded tactics. Sarah, I kind of agree with you, and then I kind of don't agree with you. It's almost like a sociopath's relationship with a psychopath. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, usually sociopaths are only into murder because they're following a psychopath. Sociopaths don't really have those tendencies to murder unless they get paired up with a psychopath and they take their lead. And I kind of see that with Autumn. Autumn cannot make her own decisions. Stockholm syndrome going on. Yes, Sarah. A little bit, yeah. She would do anything to make Nelson happy. Correct. Think the relationship between Nelson and Autumn is like Joker and Harley Quinn. Exactly. Joker was the psychopath that led a sociopath. Joker just uses her for what he needs, like Nelson with Autumn. Yeah. It's emotionally abusive and manipulative, which is funny because when you emotionally abuse a person that is like in that weaker kind of mindset, they are going to be more prone to keep doing things, whether for it to be a good reaction or a bad reaction, because just any reaction that's good to them, because this is a person that they worship. Look how Autumn reacted in season 4. That was 100% emotional abuse and just being manipulative by someone you love. True. Let's see what else happened in chapter 1. While they're talking inside of the safe, and they're kind of going, like, Matt went up to Deb's letter to see if there's any communication. It almost seems like Matt is returning to a safe place, a lifeline that he's so used to in these. We're now in season 5 with this book. He's so used to returning to Deb for the answers. So what does he do? He returns to Deb's letter, and there's really no answers for him there. But he returns to it because that is what he's been trained to for almost 5 years. Well, more than that, but these 5 seasons, to go to Deb when there's like a roadblock, when they don't know what to do next. So he returns to Deb, even though she is gone. He still returns to her, and while they're in the safe, Woods reaches over and picks up the journal. And they're talking about it, and they're talking about the journal, and they find out that is actually something written in the journal. And if you have your books in front of you, it's page 320, what is written. Go ahead and flip to your books and you can read it with us. As soon as Bailey is done reading this to the group, because Matthias is kind of like over and done with, like, the stupid journal keeps appearing new daunting messages. As soon as Bailey is done reading it, we get a sound of a doorbell ringing. Bad omens, bad omens, bad omens. Bethany says there's some hidden significance here. Bailey is subject 4 stand-in. Subject 4's connection to all of this. The next character arrives right after hidden messaging almost. Sarah 1390 says it also gives me the feeling that they are not safe in their own space and being actively monitored. Well, I mean, even in the vault, they're standing in the vault, and it's almost like Bailey, reads this bad omen, this warning out, and all of a sudden the doorbell rings. It's very Alfred Hitchcock, old-timey, like, thus enters the bad guy feeling type of thing. Like, I almost picture the scene in black and white, and it's a dark, stormy night. Bailey rings us out, the doorbell rings, and they all just turn and look at the door. That is the scene that popped in my head. Even the safe isn't safe. No. The safe was never safe. No. So anyway, we get this warning, and then the anonymous doorbells rings, and then they talk a little bit. They go downstairs, and we get another envelope. We get another envelope. So if you flip to pages 321, YouTube, this is the letter that they get from a mysterious Jasper Shaw. Now, if you read this, worst party invite ever. Yeah, it doesn't come off nice. And it's almost like a rich guy trying to hire him. Like our Scooby-Doo gang. Trying to hire our Scooby-Doo gang. Not for the benefit of the world or anything else. Is the benefit to him. I'm only interested in you because I need help. Exactly. So we get this ominous, like, as Bethany called it, worst invite to a dinner party ever. There's not even dinner or anything. That leads us into chapter 2. Chapter 2 is named A Dead Man Walking. We basically need this invite to basically just go down to a few units next door, which bothers me. I think that bothers me more, the invite that these people were just a couple doors down while all this was supposedly going on. And the reason why that bothers me more is probably because there was a lot of things that that could have happened and that did happen, and easily somebody could have easily intervened, like them getting locked in the safe. If you're just like a couple units down and you're totally watching this, you could have helped our team get out. You could have made sure that Benji didn't destroy the apple II. You could have stopped the Mountaineer getting stolen. You could have. There's so many things that they could have intervened in helping. If they were truly on 863's side, there were a lot of things that they could have intervened or helped with. Chapter 2 opens up with Blue Base. They're in the front lobby. Matthias decides, let's not postpone this. This guy is either going to come over here again or we can meet him and just get it over and done with. So they head over to Red Base to get weapons. We know that Bailey has pepper spray on her keys. Sam takes some pepper spray and Bailey also takes a taser. I don't read about Woods taking anything. Because if he's carrying a bat, that really doesn't help, because when they get to the unit Redacted, and this is where we get the name of the book, the Redacted, is they call themselves the Redacted, and it's interesting that our book is calling the unit Redacted before we even get introduced to that. They knock on the door. They knock 4 times. Ember answers, and she asks them if they had weapons. Matt lies and says that that they don't. So if Woods is carrying a bat, she would know that they were lying. So I don't think Woods is carrying anything. Divine weapon. That's Bethany. That's not very. Divine weapon, because these guns, and Woods holds up his arms. We do learn Ember's full name is Ember Ray. Then we have a Magnolia Ward. And then we come across a office that's a Deb. Matthias asks Jasper about it. Jasper says that she rather worked from her hideout than in the office. It says he turned and looked at them, and the brown eyes lit up. He was tall too, exactly as Lauren had described. I don't know why I kept picturing Dracula. Like, in my head, every time I read Jasper and Jasper's lines, it's Dracula with the Dracula accent. I'm a very visual person, so when I have like characters in my head, I give them like little quirks. So in my head, Jasper is Dracula. Jasper seems very interested in Matthias. He's very interested in Samantha, and he's very interested in Woods, and doesn't give two about Bailey, which kind of irks Bailey, which How dare you? Bailey is Bay. Bailey is life. I love Bailey. Because, like, when you mistreat Bailey, she's our stand-in. And the way he described his stand-in being Ember, it's on page 22 in the middle of the page. Matthias asks Jasper if Ember is his assistant, and he said, my stand-in. Should anything happen to me, she would step up and run the organization. That's not what Bailey does. That's not what a stand-in does. She's standing in on behalf of Subject 4 because we physically all can't fit in that stupid room. That's not Bailey. Bailey, like, if something was to happen to Subject 1, Bailey's not going to be like, okay, guys, I got this. Nah, if anything happened to Matt, Bailey takes over the company. It's Roxa. Yeah, I would 100% back that because that would mean Subject 4, us, would run the company, right? Ember is second in command. Bailey's not second in command. The way he describes a stand-in is nothing to do with Bailey's stand-in position. Bailey's basically standing in because we're all of Subject 4, and she is a Subject 4 because she didn't get assigned a number. So she is, in a sense, Subject 4 member. And so is everyone else in the in the office that doesn't have a subject number. They're all Subject 4s. Like Kat, Lauren, like they're all Subject 4 because they're all watching this and like we are. So if something was to happen to Bailey, Kat could easily stand in for Subject 4. You know, they could easily call up Soroxa and say, hey, Soroxa, we need a stand in for Subject 4. And we think a Canadian is the best bet. So they couldn't afford Soroxa. Soroxa just sends his AI stand-in. So yeah, that irked me. How he basically didn't get Bailey's role correct. It's almost like he does not care about Subject 4. Then let's get to basically the elephant in the room of this chapter. He wants them to solve a murder. And whose murder? It's basically him. He raises a cloth, which is weird. This is interesting. Who puts a dead body on a boxes of files? Do you know how much dead bodies leak? I'm sorry. I'm sorry if this is going to sound gross, but dead bodies leak. And you're just going to throw a dead body across your files? The presentation is very weird and disturbing. Yes. Imagine the smell. Yeah. And why did this guy had no fingers and tips or anything? Page 24. They've never heard the name Jasper Shaw before, but that didn't mean he was lying. You wouldn't have found any information on me regardless. And why is that? He held up one finger. Because according to anyone else besides Syntech, I don't exist. Therein lies the second reason for our organization's name. Most of us were already redacted by Syntech. So when he was talking about how to be initiated into the redacted, this is the scene that came into my head.
You will dress only in attire specially sanctioned by MIB Special Services. You'll conform to the identity we give you, eat where we tell you, live where we tell you. From now on, you'll have no identifying marks of any kind. You will not stand out in any way. Your entire image is crafted to leave no lasting memory with anyone you encounter. You are a rumor, recognizable only as déjà vu and dismissed just as quickly. You don't exist, you were never even born. Anonymity is your name. Silence your native tongue. You are no longer part of the system. You are above the system, over it, beyond it. We're them, we're they. We are the men in black.
We are the redacted. So not only do I have Dracula rolling in my head, but I had this whole scene going into my head. You always have a scene rolling in your head? Yes, I'm a very visual person. There's how I picture the redacted initiation process. Let's burn off your fingertips, which the body, Mr. Leaky body, sitting on top of files, he didn't have fingertips, which is very concerning, right? Because if he doesn't have fingertips, dental records could prove whether what they're saying is true or not. They're all sitting there and they're like, oh my gosh, it's him. And even the chapter is called A Dead Man Walking. But on a more scientific term, there's a thing called Occam's razor. Occam's razor basically says whatever is the most simplest answer to a question will be generally the answer to that question. So Occam's razor would suggest this is a twin. He could have murdered his twin. It doesn't have to be him from a different timeline, and removing fingertips would be harder to identify him as a twin, because even though identical twins are identical, they will still have different fingerprints. But another thing that they could go off of is dental, but I didn't see, in the scene with Matthias with Mr. Leaky, he didn't investigate what's inside the mouth. He did say that the face was bloated. Doppelganger. Exactly. So just the fact that this has no fingertips, but he did say it didn't look like it was cut off or burnt off. The fingertips just looked like it just was non-existent, didn't grow. Now, what? How would Matthias know that? Like, if you remove the fingertips and they heal, I don't know. Gracie says what makes it sus is that there are no apparent injuries to the body itself. Exactly, but they didn't really do an examination. My grandfather had a finger cut off. It was so old that you could barely tell that it was an accident. Yeah. We'll go ahead and close up this chapter of basically Jasper has Mr. Leaky, wants them to find out how this person was murdered, insinuates that this person came from a different timeline. It is him, but from a different timeline. He would like them to look into this murder in case there is a threat, the same threat upon his life in this timeline. Also, towards the end, he asks for the Absalate, like flat out asks Matthias for the Absalate. And the fact that this person knows so much about our team, but doesn't know the fact that asking for the Absalate is highly sus. Doesn't seem like he really knows our team that well, does he? So he asks for the Absalate. He insinuates that he can keep it safer, that Matthias has done a poor job at keeping evidence safe. And that's another thing. If John Doe can keep evidence safe, this new Jasper guy would be the last person that 863 would go to keep any evidence safe, because they would just go to John Doe to keep things safe if it was that necessary. But as of right now, the Absalate, in my opinion, is only safe with subject 1. But what do you guys think? If Nelson still has access to Matt's mind, then Matt shouldn't be the only one who knows where it is. Well, I think our team knows where it is. I think they all know that Matt is carrying it around because it's not in the vault, right? Overkill, not associated with the overkill. This is a lowercase overkill. Says no, because history tends to like to repeat itself. True. In my opinion, if the Absolate's not in my hands, then I want it with subject 1 or with Bailey. Maybe it would be better to be on Bailey's keychain with her puffball. Actually, that is a really good place to hide it. Like Sherlock Holmes taught us in, I think, was it the Scarlet Letter? It was the Scarlet Letter. The best place to hide something is out in the open. And putting it on Bailey's keychain next to the puffball is kind of out in the open and would be the last place anyone looked because everyone overlooks Bailey. Look at my fun keychain thingy. Yeah, okay, I changed my opinion. I don't want it in Matthias's possession. I would want it on Bailey's keychain next to the puffball. All right, we're going to go ahead. That is where the chapter 2 ends. We are going into chapters 3 and 4, so make sure to do your reading. And if you're not reading along with us, then why are you here? Why are you here? It's a book club, guys. You have to have the book to be part of the club. So we are going to be readings. We're going to be reading chapters 3 and 5. That means you will be ending on page 74. So we will see you guys next Saturday. So be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon, and we will see you guys next week for chapters 3 and 4 of the Redacted. Till then, be safe and always stay curious.